Hello, one and all, to the weekly recess on the Jersey Nerds podcast. Mitchell Lee, Nick Izzo, Connor Vandermark here with you, guys. I don't know if I want to call that week of football fun because there were a lot of games that felt like they either had no stakes whatsoever or were over by the time the third quarter rolled around. Maybe that was just Thanksgiving to me because that holiday, the Thanksgiving Black Friday games, we only got one good one.
Yeah, it's like I'm assuming you mean the Packers Lions because the other
Yes.
two weren't really of interest to me.
And
Uh,
even that
Yeah.
one you can debate.
yeah, like again, it's the same narrative of the Cowboys, them beating bad teams. No, like
Yep.
we'll
They
see what
do
happens with
I would
it.
scare me
agree on
though
that.
come postseason time because I don't think Dak has ever played better than he's playing right now. I think a lot of people hold that Niners game against him, but he played really well against the Eagles.
He did.
He was
He definitely
certainly
did.
not the reason why they lost that game. I'm interested to see how they do against better opponents, and we'll see them play the Eagles again. But as is with any Dallas Cowboys season, their story's going to be told by how they do in January, and for the last 2 decades, that's been pretty poor. So
Yep.
maybe this is the year to break it, but we won't be able to make that determination right now. As far as the other NFC contenders, though, the Niners on Thanksgiving looked great. I truly think that we've reached the point, and I'll ask this question to you guys as well. Do you think we've reached the point where we can say Brock Purdy is a good quarterback without having to add any qualifiers of like because of the system or because of the guys around him? Because he's made some throws and done some things that have had me going, okay, this guy's got something.
Uh, yeah. At this point, like we have to believe because of the fact that he is not giving us any true reason not to. Like, well, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. I went on this kind of rant before, where it's like it's kind of hard to separate uh no systems and your a team's O line from their actual performance. But like he's doing so well that you have to take the evidence that's given to you. It's like he's doing his job and he's playing good. And honestly, that's what the 49ers need.
Yeah. I think I think there's probably going to be at least another season or two before you could really I think make a
Season or
full
two.
assessment. Um, I'd have to say that he definitely has increased success with guys like McCaffrey and Debo and George Kittle and just their offensive line in general. But he's definitely shown a lot of talent as well. So I think we'd have to say that he's a good quarterback, but definitely some qualifiers to that.
I'm ready to remove those for the simple reason of the team seems to kind of go as he goes. And you look at the 3 games that they lost. He threw 5 touchdowns compared to 5 interceptions compared to 3 touchdowns. And I'm by no means the touchdown to interception ratio tells the story of who you are as a quarterback guy. There's a lot of different factors that go into things, but he's thrown 5 interceptions in the 3 losses and 1 interception in all of their wins. I think that he is more than just, hey, don't lose the game for us. Because in the 8 games that they've won, he's made plays, he's gotten yards, completion percentage very high, and he's moving the ball down the field. I I believe in Brock Purdy, and I did not think I would be saying that after last year. I thought last year was at the point where I'm like, all right, where I don't really know if I believe, but I think I've been made a believer in Brock Purdy.
All right, so I want to pose this question then because
Okay.
this kind of popped in my head, and I think it's a really good question to ask because, in your opinion, this goes for both sides of the Super Bowl, as in the winning and losing team. Which is like, okay, I wouldn't consider Purdy anywhere of the upper echelon of quarterbacks. Fair enough.
Yeah.
think
When's
that's
the
fair.
last
Yeah.
time? When's the last time you would say, a QB like that took a team to the Super Bowl? And I'm not including injuries, so I'm excluding
So
Nick
not the
Foles here.
2017 Eagles.
I'm not including Nick Foles because it was an injury, and I consider that as Carson Wentz's team because Carson Wentz was the majority of that team's quarterback throughout the year. Correct? Remember correctly on that because
Yes.
injuries later on, like
Yeah,
week
Yeah.
Carson
7,
Wentz would have
16.
won MVP that season if he had been
Yeah.
healthy, but he missed about the last month of the year. Um, Part of me
Is that-
wants to, and I know this will get an eye roll from some people, but part of me wants to say the 2018 Patriots because Brady and the Pats offense was not the well-oiled machine that it was in the late 2000s and most of the 2010s. I mean, Gronk made some plays late in the postseason, but I mean, him and Edelman weren't what they once were, and Brady was kind of in that stage where people thought, okay, maybe this is the decline that's coming, and then he got a second, third, whatever, fourth wind in Tampa.
Mhm.
But I'll put that to the side. I'm not gonna count 2012 Joe Flacco for the Ravens because he was always kind of he had the big arm, and we didn't view Joe Flacco the same way then that we
No,
kind of do now.
No, I agree with that because I think Joe Flacco, like he at least proved his talent. He had the talent throughout the whole year. Like he actually had to make with came as the Ravens offense. The Ravens offense ran through Flacco. In my opinion, with the 49ers offense, it does not
I'd
run through
argue it
Purdy.
kind of ran through Ray Rice because he
did.
was one of their top receivers as well. But I mean,
But
yeah, it's different.
because I'm looking at it now because the reason I'm bringing this up because
05 Roethlisberger with the Steelers was he didn't have a terribly great year that season, and certainly not in the Super Bowl.
but what I'm saying though is majority of times when you have a Super Bowl contending team, you have that top tier quarterback who is playing. No, the only two exceptions I'm seeing that is I would say will be I have it up on Wikipedia right now. Would be 19 with Mahomes versus Garoppolo. I would say Garoppolo's is equal
Oh, you're
level.
just saying getting to the Super Bowl.
I'm just saying getting. I'm
Okay,
just
I was thinking of winning the whole enchilada.
even the win the whole enchilada too. Like it's hard to get there in the first place. No, out of 32 teams, only 2 teams make it.
Rex
And-
Grossman in 06.
Yeah, Grossman and Hasselbeck were 2 that popped in my
I
head.
wouldn't put Hasselbeck in that category. I mean,
As
he's
in-
in the same
Yeah, I
he's in
can't
the
put him
same
there either.
category as someone like Stafford when
And
he
that's-
won.
and that's what I'm trying to get at though is like, would you consider Stafford the same level as Purdy, or consider him better than Purdy?
I don't know.
That's
Okay,
what
so
I'm
you're
trying-
just saying not an elite quarterback. Because if you're
That's what I'm
saying
saying.
not an elite quarterback, then I would put Flacco in that category.
yeah, like that. That's what I'm trying to parse out here because because you have Goff and Garoppolo in 18 for Goff, 19 for Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Who made it? They didn't win. But like,
Peyton Manning in 2015 was horrid.
but you still consider him as like a quote unquote elite level player though.
Not in 2015.
Yeah.
He was horrific in 2015. But the defense carried him, and he just kind of like toned it down a little bit in the playoffs. He kind of recognized what his body couldn't do
Yeah.
and stopped trying to make some of the throws that he did earlier in the season that were getting him picked off a ton. But the Niners, I mean, they've been here before. They've done this with, and I think Purdy is better than Garoppolo was in 2019.
So far, he definitely is. I mean, I really can't think of anybody else, that's really led their team there. Still trying to think, but yeah, I feel
But,
like Michelle, you
There
kind
have
of
been
named
plenty
them
that have
before.
gotten like the conference championship game. I mean, We had
Yeah.
Case Keenum a few years back.
But like would say Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 50 in 2015. No, if he was him not playing up to the elite level, like winning Super Bowl, it's hard to win without having that X factor quarterback. And
your defense has to be amazing.
yeah, and we haven't seen that since what, like past Peyton Manning. Like as the Giant fan, would you consider Eli Manning as elite, Nick? That'll be 2011. That will be.
I say he was in 2011.
Yeah, I go very back and forth. Like, he's such a weird quarterback, right? Like his regular season, you're like, what is this guy doing? But then like something about the postseason just gets him going, and then he makes these throws that you're just like, this is the guy that plays quarterback for us. Like, wow.
Clutch
So,
gene trademark.
like that's the thing. Like he had a clutch gene, but for the regular season,
He had it in
that you were just
2011.
hey.
I can't remember how many times him and Jake Ballard would score game-winning touchdowns, or he'd hook up with Victor Cruz. 2011 Eli Manning is probably the best Eli Manning that we ever got.
Remember some guys, Victor Cruz. Man, I haven't heard that name in a while.
That one 2011 Victor Cruz season was special.
It was.
Yes, it was.
Detroit. That Detroit Green Bay game on Thanksgiving. It kind of seemed to bring back some fond memories of Jared Goff that we have not had in quite a while, from back in his time with the Rams, where everyone was saying this is a guy that you can win with, but not win because of. When he's under pressure, he makes bad decisions. And I think that there's truth in all of that. But that wasn't my concern with that game. My concern was Jordan Love was carving your defense to pieces.
Yeah, their defense did not
Yeah.
look. That
was a
first
far
quarter
bigger
bad.
concern to me.
That first quarter was bad.
Jordan Love, he's figured something out. Jordan Love has improved in a significant way, and I think the Packers. I know I mentioned the Commanders would be the third team to make the playoffs, and I'm not even sure it's really Dallas, Seattle, and somebody, because I don't think the Seahawks are making the playoffs anymore. I think it is now Dallas, Green Bay, and pick some other team, and I tend to lean Los Angeles Rams right now, if I'm being honest.
They concern me right now. I know having Kyron Williams back is nice for them.
I just don't believe in Seattle at the moment. Geno is not playing the way that he did last year. DK looks out of it. And let me tell you the remaining schedule that they have. Because
I saw that. I'm like, that's not that. That's like
they've lost their last 2, and they've lost 3 out of their last 4. Their next 3 games are at Dallas, at San Francisco, Philadelphia. So this team is going to be 6-8. And then they get Titans, Steelers, Cardinals.
Honestly,
but Titans and Cardinals are on the road. And they would have to win all of those games.
You might be right about this, because I'm looking at the standings now with the ESPN and their playoff standings. And there is like a real big teardrop from like the division leaders of Eagles, 49ers, Lions, and then I would say Cowboys are regrouped into that tier.
Yes.
And then it just drops because you have Falcons 5-6 winning the division. Let's go under 500 team. I don't know why I always love that.
I don't.
God, they're so bad.
I think it's just so funny. Just the ineptitude. Then you have the Seahawks sitting in the 6th wild card spot number 2. And wild card spot number 3 is the Vikings, who are themselves, after playing the Bears on Monday, was
I don't
not
see how
pretty.
they make the playoffs.
And that's
I knew the Josh Dobbs experience would come to this point, but wow, they just crash landed against Chicago.
so
Of all
there is
teams, yeah.
a wide open door for the Green Bay Packers just to walk right into there, and even the Rams. That is completely true.
I mean, look at Green Bay's schedule in comparison. They play the Chiefs. They have the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, but then at Giants, Tampa, at Carolina, at Minnesota, Chicago. Compared to what Seattle's going up against, that's a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
they're hitting their
A
stride
little
as opposed
weaker.
to Seattle, who not only is in a funk, Gino's hurt. And if Gino has to miss any time, I know that he looks good right now, but sometimes these injuries get re-aggravated. They have to go to Drew Lock, and they turned to Drew Lock for about 2 minutes against the Rams, and he fumbled the game away. Not literally, but I mean, he played horribly. And I'm not even sure that Geno Smith, the way he's playing right now, is good enough to get you to the playoffs. Kenneth Walker's hurt. They've had offensive lineman injuries. Seattle is, I don't want to use the term in free fall because there are teams that are in free fall right now. And I don't know if Seattle, like the Jets, are in free fall right now. The Chargers, the Commanders are in free fall right now.
I would say the right word for the Seahawks would be in shambles. They're there.
They're facing a fork in the road in their season.
Yeah.
It's going to be before Thanksgiving, and how they respond to. I mean, if they had won that game, they would have been tied for first in the division. So that was a huge breaking point in their season. But the top team in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, who could do everything but beat the New York Jets, which is still just so weird to me. They beat the Buffalo Bills.
That's still weird.
They beat the Buffalo Bills. And getting kind of over to the AFC side of things, the Bills might be in the same situation as the Seahawks. I think they're the team no one wants to see in the playoffs. But you thought the Seahawks schedule was bad. The Bills might not be. Bills aren't as bad. Bills get at Kansas City, then Dallas, Chargers, Patriots, at Dolphins. So it's tough, but I could definitely see them stealing. Like, I could see them beating Dallas.
That's a coin toss to me.
Yeah. But it's also in Buffalo, in the cold. I can see Buffalo winning that game. But they had that Eagles game right for the taking. McDermott, who I don't know if he survives this season. If they don't make the playoffs, I don't think he's their head coach next year. They had about 20 seconds or so on the clock, and they had 2 timeouts, and they just took a knee. Tie game, and one of the biggest moments in Bills history was Mahomes driving down the field in 13 seconds on them. And they just took knees with more time. And then they lost the game, and I felt at that moment that they deserved to lose that game, and that might be a moment that they come to regret as a team. The Eagles at 10-1. Jalen Hurts played really great in that second half, but he's now the favorite to win MVP, and I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I can't say I agree with that right now either, but at the same time, I don't know who else
you got list up. You got list
up
the odds.
I was looking at it earlier. I think number 2 is still Mahomes.
I'm pulling up now. As of
according
to US Today. This is brought to us by
Yeah, it's Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, Dak, Lamar Jackson, Tua, Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen.
My
Which
boy CMC to get no love.
I think Tyreek Hill needs to be a lot higher on that
Oh yeah, I
list.
agree with that too. I agree with that too.
Yeah,
My
Uh,
current vote,
they'll never
my
give it to
current
a
vote would
receiver.
go. I think you'd have to do. Yeah, I think you'd have to like put the team on your back.
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson had a shot at it last year, but
I see.
I
Out of all the quarterbacks, though, I think Hurts should be the leader, though. Like
I
Mahomes
vote
is the only argument to that. That's the only player.
Mahomes would be my third quarterback. My second quarterback would be C.J. Stroud, and my top quarterback
Yeah,
be
Stroud should
Dak
be the
Prescott
discussion.
right now.
I wouldn't pick
Dak Prescott.
Prescott. I would not pick Prescott. He's
I'm
been
not
winning
big
games,
Dak
but like
either.
I
Plenty of
until
time
he's
left to go.
yeah, no, I understand that, but like until he proves it to me, like he's a good player to if you want to make a bet on someone. I would make. I think Dak's a good player to make a bet on, but in the grand scheme of things, until he proves to me that he can beat good teams, not touching him.
I get that point,
I'd
and I
have to
think he'll
agree
have that
with that.
chance. He'll have that chance in the last month of the season. In the last month of the season, there is no candidate is pulling away. This is very
Yeah,
close. I think that if C.J. Stroud, the Texans, had beaten the Jaguars,
different story. CJ Stroud beat.
Stroud would have taken the lead for me. But it's anyone's race right now. I just don't see how Jalen Hurts has been the number one guy, except for people going, he's the quarterback on the number one team. I don't think he's playing as well as he did last year.
I agree with that completely. I think it's more so the fact that it definitely helps with him with his wonderful was it what they call it, the brotherly shove, him getting all the
Brotherly
rushing
shove.
touchdowns.
Yeah, he's got
Honestly,
so many rushing
great name.
touchdowns.
Whoever figured that name out is genius. Love that name.
It's certainly
Um,
better than the tush push or
yes, the
butt
tush
the
push.
butt squat or whatever. It's better.
Um, but like he's not having as big of a statistical year this year. But when it comes to situations where the game is on the line, he has performed. Like how many times
Oh
has the
yeah,
Eagles? How many times the Eagles have been in a tough spot in multiple games where it's like, all right, last two drives, I'll get something done, and he has, and I can't take that away from him.
Yeah, he's such a dynamic dual threat that even if you're, playing, max cover or anything like that, like you have to watch out for him, running because as you saw on, the last play, he could just get it immediately from the snap, take off, and next thing you're giving up six.
Nick. Before we completely switch gears to the AFC, I gotta ask about it. Giants Patriots,
Ugh,
MetLife Stadium on
God.
Sunday. How you feeling about that one? Because most Giants fans I know were none too happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to be happy about when you just squeak by with a victory. And, the Tommy DeVito story is great. And, as a fellow Italian myself, it's great to
The
have that as
gabagool.
it's great to have that as a New York Giants quarterback because like it just like fits so perfectly. I mean, they even played the Sopranos video before before he took
I
before
didn't
he
know
took
that.
the field. They played that on the jumbotron, so it's a great story. But there the defense could have had at least 4 interceptions more on Mac Jones. I mean, that's a guy
That
that just
experiment is done.
has fallen off the face of football. Mac Jones, my God. I mean, you talk about somebody who that just looks totally inept out there. I mean, damn,
He looks
it's
worse than Zach Wilson.
He's seeing ghosts like Darnold.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
seriously, it was a
I
lot like
mean,
that. Where
I
it's like,
can't
do you just not
even
know the players on the field and where they are?
like the throws that he was making. I questioned like what was going through his mind, and the Giants had so many opportunities to pick it off, and that's why they're on defense clearly, because they can't catch very well. So it was nice to have the win, but it, at the same time, I can't forget the fact that they only won by 3, and the kicker for the Patriots missed at the end of the game.
He did that on
So
purpose.
hey,
Tank Bowl,
well,
baby.
I guess so, but it was the battle of the toilets, and Giants flushed out with a victory.
Very nice.
Before we get up the Giants, I do want to make the Gabagool DeVito. For our listeners out there who do not know, Sopranos is actually based in New Jersey. Was it the Saints of Newark?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
Gabagool
People
stays
not know
home.
that.
People do not know that. Some
No,
people
I
do not.
did.
At least. People like to assume that The Sopranos is New York, but it's Jersey.
Really? I don't know anyone that
Oh,
thinks
I-
that, but yeah.
I've
Maybe
come
they're
across
out
there.
I come across people who are just not familiar and just like, oh, it's New York. They're Italians.
Oh,
But yeah.
All right, Connor, we gotta do the thing where we talk about it. We gotta
Okay.
talk about Black. I mean, so black, deep in my ass, Black Friday.
At this point, this is like a eulogy, if anything else.
Yep, it's that time.
It's
When-
on our
when you
calendars,
thought-
guys. Just
Yep.
circle the week. every
Hey,
year.
hey,
every
you
year.
There's been several years in the last 5-10 years where we don't get to even have hope in November, you know? And technically speaking, yes, we lost all hope on September 11th when Aaron Rodgers went down. I get that. But
I just completely forgot that game was on September 11th.
it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not a great day. And made even worse in 2023 with Aaron Rodgers. But it was official on Black Friday when Tim Boyle took the field, which I understand that you got to make the move. We both agreed that something had to happen. You have to change something. We also both agreed that it probably should have been 1, Trevor Siemian, and 2,
yeah, absolutely.
it really wasn't going to do much for this offense because the offensive line is beat to shit. The only receiver that can get open is Garrett Wilson. They had Alan Lazard as a healthy scratch, and Robert Saleh after the game was basically like, look, we got him for another year and a half. Buddy, he's on a 4-year contract. Are you already looking when you can get out of this thing? Because I know we sure are as fans. So, wow, that was certainly a moment, but the moment everyone talks about, the moment everyone wanted to, meme on, Tim Boyle, pick 6, Hail Mary, the Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be
Hail
honest
Mary,
with you.
man.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, simply because a lot of these quarterbacks like to underthrow the Hail Mary so that it gets batted around in the end zone, or like the Aaron Rodgers, Richard Rodgers Hail Mary, where you can have someone kind of fall into it. But there's a danger with that where if someone catches it, if it's too short, or someone catches it and can get like a bit of a running start, you're past all of the wide receivers and you've got nothing but linemen. So if you just kind of run away from them, you've got all that green to work with. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, but naturally, of course, because God hates me, it happened against the New York Jets.
Again,
On Black Friday at the
Yep.
halftime, and then we had to watch doofus ass Robert Saleh give an interview like, oh, that was unfortunate. And then we got to watch a commercial of him brushing his teeth that I've never seen before and I've never seen since. I think that commercial was made just for that moment, just to kick me in the balls.
Oh my god. Yeah,
And I didn't know about
Yeah.
it until after the fact because I was so disgusted by the pick six that I took a shower. And then I got on Twitter afterwards and I saw everyone making fun of Robert Saleh in a toothpaste commercial. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Toothpaste commercial. And then I saw it and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is like Rex Ryan being in a Bud Light commercial that aired after Victor Cruz took 199 yards against the Jets in 2011. Victor Cruz, 2 mentions on the podcast.
who would have thought?
And you,
This
and you
is
thought
so,
that
like-
was you thought that was the worst thing to come at a halftime.
No,
It was-
and the Jets need to stop playing games around
Oh, man.
Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving, butt fumble, Black Friday, whatever the hell this thing is. I'm tired of this. And I put my foot down. I said I'm not watching any more Jets football.
But this is Jets
But
football.
damn it, I'm already considering it because they play the Falcons, and I think Desmond Ritter's gonna throw a few picks.
But this is
I
Jets
mean,
football.
he should.
Like this
Yeah.
this is the death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's how life is. And then there's one large gash. I'm like, oh, I think we're still okay. Another large gash. Oh, I think we're still fine. Until
I think the
we're bleeding
bleeding
out on the ground.
craziest- I think the craziest part of that game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mitchell, but with like 58 seconds, they get the pick six, and as a Jets fan, I'd be like, oh my god, like, we pulled within 4 like right before halftime, and then that happens, and then because of the touchdown, you somehow, although you scored in the last minute, you somehow were losing by more than what you were when you had just scored. Like, it was just absolutely crazy that happened.
And it happened to the New York Jets because guess what? It always does. And they never figure anything out in the cycle in which other teams stumble, fall, figure it out, then stumble, fall again, and then figure it out again. The Jets are still stumbling and falling down the same set of stairs. Speaking of a team that has stumbled, fallen, figured it out, and then done the same about 2 or 3 times in the same process while the Jets have still been trying to pick their head out of the sand, let's talk about the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Battle for the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud. The Jaguars find a way to get it done. I hated watching this game.
I think the refs
hated watching
completely
this game.
ruined the ending.
Yes,
I
it was ref
I don't
ball.
understand. I don't understand how you call an illegal shift on Tank Dell when that's the same play that Miami runs at least 20 times a game with Tyreek Hill.
Yes, Tyreek Hill does that all the time. No one calls
the
it.
same jet motion sweep. I don't understand what he did wrong. I don't understand the illegal shift penalty anyway half the time because it's like, all right, are you just picking when to flag these guys? Like, that completely killed the entire momentum, honestly. I feel like the Texans should have had that game. And as soon as that play was called back, in my head, I said, all right, this game is probably over.
Hey, but let's be real though too. Like the Texans were literally what, an inch away from tying it. Like that last field goal hit the bottom bar of the field goal post.
Yeah.
It was like the 60-yarder that they kicked.
And they
tie.
they cut his ass.
And they cut his
Yep.
ass. I felt bad. I saw that in the news today.
Well, they
I was
said
like, oh,
that he
that's-
never
Kicker
made a
Matt
50-plus
Amendola.
yarder. Yeah, they said he never
Yeah.
made a
He's not a good
50-plus
kicker,
yarder. Like,
and
how could you have that on
he's
your
not
team?
a good kicker. But that's a
Right.
if that's a 54-yard field goal. We're going overtime,
yeah.
and he still has a
Yeah.
job.
You
Yeah.
can't
And 4
blame
more yards. This man is employed.
You can't blame him
You
for that. I
gotta-
personally cannot blame him from that.
No.
You have to at least be able to make it like a 55, 58-yarder, I think.
Do we think the Texans are making the playoffs this year? because I
Yes.
am on Team Texans to the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to be able to do anything while they're there because I think the team hasn't quite caught up with how good CJ Stroud is, but they'll get there. Next year, 2 years from now, they'll get there.
It's like the because I think because Nico Collins was on that team last year, and like he was fine, but like I think Stroud is definitely elevating the players around him, and it's that there's one saying called that's like a rising tide lifts all boats, and
Yep.
CJ Stroud is that tide for the Texans, where he's like again like I can definitely willing to put MVP considerations for him
Not a
because of the fact
rising
that
tide, though. He's a rising Buckeye. The Tide isn't doing so well over in
uh,
Carolina.
that is very true. Um, but yeah, it's definitely
Thank you there.
I think he is a very explosive and like he's a fun player to watch. Like whenever he has the ball in his hands, something's gonna happen, and I love it when players have that ability to do that.
Who is making the playoff? Okay, this is what I'd like to spend the last little bit on. Who's making those wild card spots in the AFC and in the NFC? Because things have kind of been thrown for loops. People have lost jobs. The Steelers have fired an offensive coordinator. The Bills have fired an offensive coordinator. The
Oh,
Browns are down.
Canada.
Oh, Canada, get on Indeed.com. The Browns are down to their third quarterback. The Bengals are down to a backup quarterback. The Colts are down to a backup quarterback. The Broncos have won 5 straight games out of their ass somehow. And the Jets have fallen out of things completely, along with the Chargers, who, after that Sunday Night Football game, both teams just decided season's done. Hey, we can go home now.
At this point in the AFC, I would probably. I gotta say, the two teams that piss me off the most right now is the Steelers and the Browns. I have no clue what to do with them because who the hell knows? Because the Browns' defense is still playing well. No, their offense is obviously in shambles because they don't have an offense.
Yeah,
I think
and the
I think the
Steelers'
Browns.
defense isn't that bad either.
So here's a thing that I'm curious about: is 9-8 good enough to be a playoff team in the AFC? Because I think that's the cutoff. And the reason I say this because I was looking through the Bills' schedule. The Bills have 3 games that they can win. They have the Charger game, they have the other Patriot game, and then they have the last Dolphin game. Those are 3 games that they should be able to win. Thinking of the Bills of when they're fully caliber. The Chiefs and Cowboys, I'm going to chalk them from losses for now. I'm not saying they're going to lose those games. I'm just chalking them for now to saying, let's see what the scenario plays out as. That's a 9-8 Bills team. We definitely did not see that coming, but here we are. No, I think that Houston and Denver are going to have more than 9 wins because their schedule, I think, is more forgiving than than the Bills, that is. I think the Colts are probably the one team that's going to be on the odd man out. But you need another team or two to drop for the Bills to make room of the Steelers and the Browns.
I think
Sure.
I think the Texans make it. I've got them getting in. I think the Steelers make it. But it's that last spot between Cleveland, Denver, and Buffalo. And I find myself leaning Cleveland just because of that defense. But I think Buffalo's gonna. I'm very conflicted because Denver is playing really well right now, and they have a schedule that, while they don't have any games that necessarily jump out at you as that is totally unwinnable, the only gimme game they have is the Patriots on Christmas Eve. They play the Chargers twice. They play the Raiders on the road, and they play the Texans and Lions on the road. I could see them breezing through that, or I could see them tripping over their 2 feet and only beating the Patriots as well.
Yeah.
And the Bills, I just feel like they are due for. Like, I think they could win an Arrowhead. I think they can beat the Dallas Cowboys. Both of those games are winnable games. It's just like, first, they nearly beat Philadelphia. It's just a matter of whether they actually do it. They're going to be competitive games. Most of the games, in fact, all of the games they've lost this year have been one possession losses. They have not gotten blown out by anybody. It's just a matter of whether they can finish the job. They should have beaten the Broncos. They should have beaten the Jets. They should have beaten the Patriots. It's
Honestly,
just, hey, finish the job.
Honestly,
That's why I'm going to lean with the Browns.
I think the Bills are going to miss because I assume with the Colts, their defense is not great, but their schedule is cupcakes. They're okay. Like I said before, you need to be at least a 9-win team to make it into playoffs for the for an AFC team.
Mm-hmm.
They're 6 wins ready. All right. Let's go through the schedule. At Titans, what's your thoughts?
It's a tough place
That could
to
be a win.
You're talking about which team again? You're talking about the Texans
Titans.
schedule?
At the Colts schedule. At the Titans.
You also have to keep in mind they're going to be without Jonathan Taylor. They're still going to be able to run the ball well with Zach Moss. They played earlier in the year, and Colts won that one. I would probably lean Colts.
I don't think. I think Levis has talent, but Mr. Mayo does not have
He hasn't
the
been
experience
playing well
yet.
the last couple games.
Yeah.
They also have nothing around him.
Yeah. Like I think it'll be a more running game. Like I think Henry is going to do well against them. The Colts that is, but but I still think that the Colts will win this game. No, then you have the Bengals, which I think they can win.
Yeah, they'll win that game.
I would say they'll lose. They'll lose against the Steelers. Fine. I think they're playing the Falcons.
You're right. This is an easy schedule for
They
them.
play the Falcons in Atlanta. I think they can win that game.
They might not be able to score on Atlanta. Atlanta's defense can make some things happen.
But still, let's say even if they lose that game, they play the Raiders. They beat the Raiders. That's 9 wins there. And you have a Texans game that could be on the line for the playoffs, and it could be a Texans team.
Did the Colts play any teams of quality this year except for the Jaguars and Ravens, and they beat the Ravens?
Yeah,
The Texans. Oh my God, this is a horrifically, dude. I think that this is going to be a team that has a little bit of, they think they're better than they actually are.
I think with
after the season,
but but let's be real though. Like the games that they've lost though, they've never been like the only real blowout I see here is the worst loss they have is a Saints 38-27 loss. 11
they
points.
lost the 17 to the Jaguars in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, 17.
Always do bad in Duval.
Yeah. But like overall though, like the 1 point loss against the Browns, if that flips the other way, then they're 7 wins. The Rams are lost by 6 points. Like they've been in games at least. No, one play can just turn things around. I know JT not having JT hurts, but like still, like they've been at least in games.
Zach Moss they'll be fine. He ran the ball really well without Jonathan Taylor, and they'll be all right.
But there is a very reasonable path for the Colts to take that spot, and the Bills to be looking outside. And same with the Browns. Like the Browns, even like they can win 2 games.
There's a lot of teams looking at this schedule, going, yeah, of course you have this schedule, and you get the Bengals in December after Burrow got hurt.
Yeah,
Bills got him when Burrow was playing some of his best ball.
Yep,
but that's not. That's like the way the schedule goes sometimes.
Like the Browns, they can beat the Bears. The Browns can beat the Jets. Browns can beat the Bengals. pick two or three there. They have a good shot making the playoffs. That makes them 9-8. Like, and they can sneak one again. And if they win all 3 games, then that pretty much guarantees them a spot. No, will it be an ugly first round overall in the playoffs? Yeah, probably. But like,
So what's your
they'll make it.
let's get everyone's stamp on this at the end of November. Nick, who you got?
And at the end, we're talking wild card, right?
Yep, AFC wild card.
I'm thinking the Texans. I'm gonna shoot for them, and and the Broncos.
So you got one more team.
I just think
There's 3 wildcard teams, my friend.
Yeah. I think there
Jesus
should only be
Christ,
2. But
Straight I'm forgetting. Probably.
so Texans, Broncos.
I would say I'd probably go with the Colts. Oh shit! No.
Wow. So no teams from the AFC North, just the Ravens
Hmm.
getting it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah.
Texans, Steelers, and Browns. Connor?
From looking at the matchups, I think that's the right answer. I'm actually going to stick with you on that one.
Actually, I'm going Texans, Steelers. I think the Bills find a way in.
I don't.
I think they find a way to get in there.
They need 10 wins. I think the cutoff for
I
the
think
AFC.
the defense is going to let them down.
It's gonna be. I honestly, even looking now, it might even be a 10-win cutoff to make the playoffs. The Bills making, and that's even with the tiebreakers, not even thinking about that for the Bills.
Hey, do you
They
know
need
what
10
team can?
They need 10 wins.
Do you know
to
what
help.
team can still get 10 wins?
Literally the Steelers, Browns, Colts, and Texans.
You know what team I'm talking about. If the Jets win their last 6 games,
God,
they finish 10-7. Let's take a look at this schedule.
is
Falcons
there a
at
Rodgers
home.
coming
That's a
back?
winnable game. That's a winnable game.
I will
Texans
pray to
at
whoever
home.
I will pray to whoever quarterback does this. Like, I will make a shrine.
Texans at home. They can win those games. Then it just comes down to, can you get one at Miami? Can you get one of those Tua games and get Brees off and loose? Because if you can just win those 3 games, he's coming back. If they win those 3 games, Aaron Rodgers is
God.
coming back against Washington, and they're going to beat Washington by 11 billion. And then at Cleveland, at New England, the 6-game win streak, it's coming.
You gonna put money on that?
Hell no.
Not
Not
That
even
would
a
be
little
terrible
bit.
bet.
The Jets are going to lose by 46 to the Falcons, and I'm just going to be looking at you like I hate my life. But
That's life of a Jet fan.
you know what? They've lost 4 straight. God, if they had just beaten the Raiders and the Patriots,
They'd be an okay
2
spot.
incredibly winnable games, they'd be
They-
6-5,
And they'd be in a
ahead
good
of the
spot.
Bills in the standings. And you'd be like, you know what? We can lose a game, get Aaron Rodgers back, and we'll be just fine. We're going to make the playoffs with Daddy Aaron. Nope.
It'd be like Easter, waiting for our Messiah to rise up again.
If they do manage to win 6 straight
Oh,
games and
sure.
make the playoffs, I will go on a darkness retreat over the spring. I'll give Zach Wilson some credit for winning some games that he shouldn't have. I'll become a Mormon. I don't care. I'll do it.
Go to BYU,
So,
baby.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been the weekly recess. Thanks for joining us. We've got an exciting December of football games to look forward to, and we'll be breaking that all down as the NFL playoffs inch closer and closer. For Connor Vandermark and Nick Izzo, I'm Mitchell Lee signing off. You've been listening to the Weekly Recess here on the Jersey Nerds Podcast.